This is Grocery Talks with food distribution guys Richard Baker, where we provide food manufacturers with a greater understanding of Canada's grocery sector. And now, here's our host, Richard Baker.
Today, I'm pleased to be joined on the line by Chris Clark, partner with Clark StJean. A pleasure to have you, Chris, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Richard. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to chat with you today.
Can you please provide us with a brief overview of who Clark StJean is?
Absolutely. We are largely known in the Costco world as Added Value Solutions, or AVS, and we are ultimately a boutique CPG brokerage firm that has an exclusive focus on Costco. We maintain offices in Montreal and Ottawa. The business itself was founded in 2003 by my father, Tim, who has since retired, as well as my business partner today, Clark StJean. The two of them saw an opportunity in the market for a warehouse club specialized sales and marketing agency and acted on that. Today, we work with about 40 different vendors, which go from tier one companies down to a small artisanal producer. Our focus is both food and non-food, with food representing about 65 to 70% of our overall business. We are active in most markets Costco operates in, with a preponderance of our business being in Canada, the US, and Europe, although we do some business in the Asian Pacific markets that Costco is also active in. And our model is really predicated on acting as our client's business manager as it pertains to their affairs with Costco.
So what, as a broker, what is the advantages of just being exclusive to one retailer like you are?
Well, that's an interesting question, Richard, because it's certainly not something you see that often necessarily in the market. But from our perspective, it allows for a holistic, comprehensive understanding of the retailer itself, in this case, Costco, and really allows us to focus and drill in to a very deep understanding of Costco's policies, processes, as well as their infrastructure. And ultimately, we feel that our singular focus on one retailer is an asset to our clients. Now, fortunately, Costco as a company, retailer, as well as a business model are extremely well respected in the global market in general. So this has actually been exacerbated during the pandemic, when, as has been reported recently, they have returned double-digit growth year over year in obviously very challenging circumstances. So in terms of a retailer on which to have a singular focus, in our opinion, there is no one better.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can greatly appreciate that, everyone wants to get into Costco because they don't have listing fees. So from that perspective, first off, so what is it you look for in a new principal?
Well, that's a great question. Experience and understanding of the Costco model are certainly very important, and that's something we often find with vendors that come from markets that Costco is active in. In our experience also, there's no question that people who are members of Costco themselves generally will have an appreciation, a willingness to learn and engage with Costco on the vendor side as well. Certainly from our perspective, any vendor that has an existing business with Costco on which they may require assistance is always of significant interest to us. Other than that, key areas of interest are a potential vendor's production capacities, certainly as well as having the appropriate food safety certifications in place. A strong brand and established markets are critical. No question, certainly also over the course of the past few years with the pandemic and the challenges that have accompanied it, local sources of supply have become more and more important. So North American vendors are certainly an asset at this point. And last, but certainly not least, is the ability to offer innovation and certainly to have a product pipeline that can be profiled to Costco.
And would you say that with those points, that's exactly what Costco looks for as well in new vendors?
Well, that's a very timely question. And I'll tell you why. I was at Costco's Eastern Canada annual, and in fact, this was, of course, the first iteration since 2019, but their annual gala on Monday of this week. And this always features a keynote presentation by an important Costco senior executive. And one of the key things that was profiled this year is that they are looking for new vendors to help them achieve their growth potential, as well as their desire to expand into new markets. So there is a real opportunity, particularly over the course of the next 5 years, as was profiled, for new vendors at Costco. Now, having said that, there's no surprise they look for a lot of the similar qualities that we might. So yes, innovation, capacity, the appropriate certifications, solid branding, as well as the ability to deliver as promised. I would also mention that there is certainly an important focus on vendors that value sustainability and can bring sustainability to market.
Yeah, exactly. 100% agree with that. So it's understood that most retailers provide new brand entrants with a probationary period of 9 to 12 months to prove themselves. Is that the same case with Costco?
Unfortunately, not necessarily. Costco performance is valued, and business is either generally awarded either on a rotational or a commitment basis. So these are very much scheduled opportunities that come in at specific times of the year. The expectation is that any item, whether it's being sold to Costco by a new vendor or by a long-term partner, is expected to hit sales thresholds in the department or category, which may vary by department and category, but within the construct with which they've been listed or merchandised. So if an item excels out of the gate, the vendor may very well be called upon to look at expanding the rotation or the listing, or at making that item a core item in the near future. On the other side, if an item does not necessarily meet sales expectations, regardless of whether it is a new or a historic vendor, you can expect a request for financial support to clear the item out.
Okay, understood. Excellent. So as I said, we talked about briefly beforehand, small businesses would love to get into Costco because they have this no listing fee policy. Now, would you recommend small business target them, or what is your recommendation for a small business brand that's just starting out?
Well, it's an interesting question. I do necessarily think it's important in any business to be aspirational. And I also think it's important that businesses understand that Costco is not exclusively the domain of tier 1 CPG companies. At the same time, I think it's important to set the correct expectations. As I mentioned, Costco needs to understand that your volume capacity is sufficient to service the region that you are targeting, and that you are appropriately food safety certified. So these are two elements that out of the gate, regardless of the size of the business, need to be there before they'll even engage in a discussion or evaluating your product. The other thing that's really important to understand is that Costco is a paid membership-based model. So this really mandates that there be a value slope to market on all of the items that they offer. Now, fundamentally, this can be challenging for smaller businesses who do not want to disturb their existing markets or upset their existing partners. So in this case, the ability to be flexible on upsizing your packaging or your formatting is critical. And of course, for some smaller, newer businesses, that can present unique challenges. Now, as it pertains specifically to our company, we consult very in depth with our clients and even prospects to ascertain that pursuing Costco business does make sense for all parties involved. As you know, the reality is that the one luxury that we all only have a certain amount of is time, and the Costco solicitation process can be lengthy. So you certainly want to ensure going into it that you do have what is required to meet their expectations.
No, absolutely, and and also I will go and add that as well. The fact is, hey, it's have the financial support to drive the brand awareness that consumers these days, even through Costco, for goodness sakes, I mean, you've got 8 seconds to get their attention. And
that's absolutely right.
And I could greatly appreciate, for example, let's just say the extra virgin olive oil brand in a Costco. There's so much competition there. So what are you going to do to drive that awareness so that when your people are going into a Costco, they're looking for your brand and not, for example, a private label alternative, which is happening during these tough times today.
And Richard, you make a very interesting point, because one of the challenges at Costco in terms of merchandising, it being a warehouse club, is that there aren't necessarily all of the same promotional vehicles available to brands that may exist with traditional grocery retailers. And as such, ensuring that your brand is recognizable and that you have external marketing capabilities, be it through social media or conventional channels, is increasingly important.
Yeah. And so what is the best way for anyone who would like to make contact with you if they'd like to talk to you about working with Costco?
Well, firstly, we'd love to hear from any vendors that are interested in Costco or talking Costco, and that may be in any of the markets that they provide. I can always be reached by email at chrisc@csjabs.com or by phone 514-290-9256. Folks can also visit our website, which is www.Clark StJean abs.com, and reach out directly from there.
No, I thank you for that because as you mentioned earlier, Chris, that yeah, Costco right now is one of those premier retailers because hey, they're experiencing double-digit growth during this time frame right now, and unless I'm mistaken as well, for like 100 stores across Canada, that they hold approximately 13% of the market. So that's extraordinary. 100 stores, but you have 13% of the grocery market share.
No, certainly is. And again, one of the things that came out of their gala this week is that while they're pleased with the footprint they have in Canada, they have a very aggressive plans to grow their market share, to grow their retail footprints, and as well as to grow and diversify their business channels. So you can certainly expect to hear more and more from them in the Canadian market in the years ahead.
That's right. Well, thank you again to Chris Clark for being our guest. And if you're a food manufacturer seeking distribution in Canada's grocery sector, please visit our website, www.fooddistributionguide.com. Thanks again for your time, Chris.
Thanks, Richard.